This is one of the most deservedly popular symphonies of all time. It's most famous for those first four notes, which Beethoven himself described as destiny knocking at the door. It could be argued that the entire first movement grows out of the first four notes, and that more than any symphony before, the four movements are connected by a kind of heroic journey from darkness into light, from the despair, storm and misery of the first movement into the triumph and joy of the finale. If you want a much more in-depth guide to this symphony, you can check out my podcast episode on this piece. But for now, let's get into the quick guide. The first movement is in sonata form. The piece starts with these four notes. However, he uses this short motif to construct quite large sentences. The second subject is introduced by this horn idea. It's more lyrical, but you'll notice the main theme is lurking beneath. From these two subjects are welded a sonata form most powerful and dramatic in its fury and energy. The ideas are developed in a development section just as you'd expect, and towards the end of the development section the music begins to settle down with these exchanges between wind and strings. Until tension is created through mysterious quietness. But ultimately, the development ends with an incredibly powerful orchestral tutti, leading us to our recapitulation. The beginning of the recapitulation surprises us with a new counter melody in the oboe. Have a listen. What is Beethoven trying to say? And as the recapitulation reaches its end, it enters a most furious coda, with one of the most powerful tuttis ever written by Beethoven. I'll invite you to listen to that yourself and hear the tireless energy and fury that Beethoven manages to sustain until the end. The Andante in A-flat major is a fairly unique form. It's a sort of variation form on two alternating themes. Violas and cellos state the first theme in a broad phrase which starts like this. And at the end of this phrase, there are a series of echoes and afterthoughts in the higher instruments. Then the second theme begins very simply. But suddenly bursts into a blaze of triumph in a remote key, C major, which is actually the tonic of the whole symphony. After this, Beethoven continues to give us variations on these two themes, the long flowing one and the second march-like theme which explodes in triumph. One of my favourite variations is this, the main theme smiling through tears in a minor key. In any case, the movement is beautifully proportioned and emotionally rich, and it makes for a great contrast from the first movement. The third movement is a scherzo and trio form, scherzo, trio, scherzo. There are a few ideas to notice. This introductory idea, ominous and dark, this marching, impassioned main theme, which sounds not so unlike those 4 notes of the first movement. And then the trio theme, which is treated as a fugue in C major, full of vigour and ruddy life. When the scherzo returns, it's rather a surprise. This time, instead of being in heroic horns, it's almost mouse-like, quiet, on tenterhooks, walking on eggshells, these quiet woodwinds accompanied by tiptoeing pizzicato strings. Then, to end the scherzo, there's this sudden shift in harmony to build tension, with the quietest dynamic yet. And he starts to build tension on that ominous idea. And the suspense builds and builds until, in an historic moment for music, the suspense overflows, transitioning from darkness into the joyous triumph of light. And we've just heard the first theme of our finale, which is in sonata form again. And it's also the first time that trombones appear in the symphonic repertoire. The first theme continues with these uplifting phrases. And more joyous ideas like this one. The main second subject theme is this. Notice the cello line as well. This will be an important figure that will become hugely powerful in the development. And here's the final theme of the second subject, which will eventually be given an incredible run in the coda. So the movement continues in a sonata form until suddenly, right at the end of the development, we are brought to a complete halt. And in comes our scherzo idea again. One more hint of darkness. However, the darkness can no longer sustain itself, and Beethoven uses it as a brilliant device to retransition to the recapitulation, once more bursting into a glorious blaze of light. From here, it recapitulates as you'd expect, with one final twist, the coda. We think it's all coming to an end, like a typical symphony. However, Beethoven then writes in this utterly brilliant, thrilling, and clever kind of accelerando. Right at the end, the tempo begins to spin into new speeds, it shifts up 3 gears, and the ending is this thrilling whirlwind of noise, excitement and joy. What a transformation from the mood of the first movement. No wonder this symphony continues to be one of the most famous and popular of all time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to support my work or buy me a coffee to say thank you, you can visit my Patreon page at patreon.com/InsideTheScore. I really do appreciate all the support. It definitely helps me to continue with these projects. Please do subscribe for more and share this video if you liked it. Thank you for watching.